Dear students, welcome to Brilliant Minds e-learning school. This presentation is for grade 9. Part Winter's Tale, written by William Shakespeare. At the beginning, we must talk about the author or the writer of this novel, who was William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, often called England's national poet, he is considered the greatest dramatist of all times. His works are loved throughout the world. He was an English poet, playwright, and actor of the Renaissance era. As we discussed it before, to write a novel or any play, what should I mention to attract the readers to read my novel? That's what we call elements of drama. Can you remember the elements of drama? Let's check. What are the elements of drama? The first one is the setting, characters, plot, conflict, and themes, the 5 elements. The first one, setting, means where and when did this story happen? The second one, which is characters, is talking about the main characters as protagonists and the minor roles as antagonists. The plot means the sequence of incidents, how this play or novel moves. The conflict is the fight or the argue between the characters. And the last point, the themes relating to the idea. What are the morals that can we take from this? Let's start with the first one. As we said, when and where did this story happen? Can you remember? This story happened between 2 kingdoms, Sicily and Bohemia. When the first half of this story happened in winter, and the second half happened in summer. The 2 kingdoms where the incidents happened were Sicily and Bohemia. The first half of the Winter's Tale was set in King Leontis' Sicilian court during the cold winter. How can we know this? Because we mentioned that Nemillus told his mother a sad tale's best for winter after she asked him for a story. And the second half of the play, which occurs 16 years later in the Sicilian winter, gave way to the Bohemian countryside in the middle of summer. Bohemia was a festive world that was full of youthful spirit and possibility, where Florizel's and Perdita's young love appeared. Let's talk about the characters. The first main character, Leontis, the king of Sicily, and a childhood friend of the Bohemian king, Polixenes. He was so jealous as he thought that Polixenes had an affair with his wife, Hermione. His jealousy led to the destruction of his family, Hermione, the beautiful queen. Falsely, she was accused of falling in love with Polixenes, her husband's friend. She died of grief but was restored to life at the place close. Perdita, the daughter of the king Leontes and the queen Hermione. Because his father believed her not to be confirmed as a daughter, she was abandoned as a baby on the coast of Bohemia and brought up by a shepherd, unaware of her royal family. By the end, she fell in love with the Bohemian prince Florizel. Polixenes, the king of Bohemia, and Leontes' boyhood friend. He also was falsely accused of having an affair with Leontes' wife, and he escaped from Sicilia with his life. Much later, he saw his only son falling in love with the shepherd's daughter, who was in fact Sicilian princess, which was called, yes, Perdita. As we said, Florizel was the son of Polixenes. He fell in love with Perdita. Surely he didn't know that she came from a royal family, and he defied his father by escaping with her. Camillo, the honest Sicilian nobleman. He was the advisor of Leontes. He refused to follow Leontes' order to poison Polixenes. He decided instead of this to flee Sicily and enter the Bohemian king's service. Paulina. Paulina was a noblewoman of Sicily. She was fierce in her defense of Hermione's virtue, and she helped the queen to escape after showing Hermione's fake death. Antigonus. He was Paulina's husband, and also loyal defender of Hermione. He was given the unfortunate task of abandoning the baby Perdita on the Bohemian coast. Memellus was the younger prince of Sicilia. He was the son of the king Leontes and the queen Hermione. He died of grief after his father wrongly imprisoned his mother. The shepherd, an old and honorable sheep tender, he found Perdita as a baby and raised her as his own daughter. Let's talk about the incidents of this novel. At the beginning, King Leontes had a close friend who was called Polixenes. Both of them were kings, and each one was engaged and busy with his kingdom's affairs. Each time King Leontes wanted his friend to come and visit him. When he came, King Leontes of Sicilia begged his childhood friend to extend his visit to Sicilia. But Polixenes, the king of Bohemia, protested that he had been away for his kingdom for 9 months. But after Leontes' pregnant wife Hermione asked him, he agreed. He agreed to stay a little longer. Leontes, meanwhile, had become possessed with jealousy, convinced that Polixenes and Hermione were lovers. He ordered his loyal advisor Camillo to poison Bohemian king, and instead Camilla warned Polixenes of what was happening, and the two men fled Sicilia immediately. What do you think will happen next? After the two men had escaped, Leontes was so furious, he accused his wife of infidelity and declared that the child she was bearing must be illegitimate. He threw her in prison over the protest of his nobles and sent to the oracles of Delphi for what he was sure would be confirmation of his suspicions. Meanwhile, the queen gave birth to a girl, and her loyal friend Paulina brought the baby to the king, in the hopes that the sight of the child would soften his heart. He only grew angrier and ordered Paulina's husband, Lord Antigonus, to take the child and abandon it in some desolate place. While Antigonus was gone, the answer came from Delphi. Hermione and Polixenes were innocent. Leontes would have no heir until his lost daughter was found. As this news was revealed, word came that Leontes' son Menelaus had died of a wasting sickness brought on by the accusation against his mother. Hermione, meanwhile, was carried away by Paulina, who reported the queen's death to her heartbroken husband. Antigonus, meanwhile, abandoned the baby on the Bohemian coast, reporting that Hermione appeared to him in a dream and ordered him to name the girl. He gave the name Perdita, and left the gold and other tokens on her person. Shortly, Antigonus was killed by a bear, and Perdita was raised by a comely shepherd, who considered her like her own daughter. 16 years passed, and the son of Polixenes, Prince Florizel, fell in love with Perdita by chance. His father and Camillo attended the sheep shearing in disguise and watched as Florizel and Perdita were planning to be married. Then they teared off their disguise. Polixenes showed himself and ordered his son never to see the shepherd's daughter again. But with the aid of Camillo, Florizel and Perdita took a ship for Sicilia back. They were joined in their voyage by the shepherd and his son. In Sicilia, Leontes greeted the son of his older friend Florizel, pretended this time to be on a diplomatic mission from his father. But his cover was blown when Polixenes and Camillo too arrived in Sicilia. What happened next was told by gentlemen of the Sicilian court, that the shepherd told everyone his story of how Perdita was found. Leontes realized this, and he knew that she was his daughter. The entire company then went to Paulina's house in the country, where a statue of Hermione had been recently finished. The sight of his wife's form made Leontes surprised. The statue came to life. It was already Hermione, restored to life back. At the play ends, Paulina and Camilla were engaged, and the whole company celebrated the miracle. The last part, themes. We had many themes before, and the last one, death and rebirth. Some characters died, others died and reborn again. The destructive effects of Leontes' jealousy were clear. Both Menelaus and Hermione were reported dead. Death was also the expected fate of Perdita, when Antigonus exposed the baby on the shore alone of Bohemia. She was rescued by the shipper. The character marked the returning point of the play. After the death of Antigonus, the play highlighted rebirth and forgiveness. Perdita and Florizel were united. Leontes came back to Hermione. Perdita, Polixenes, Camillo, and Hermione were reborn. Kindly check the first link to watch a movie on this play. The second link is for online quiz to check your understanding. Thank you for listening. Till the next time, stay safe at home.